Was this announcement of an investigation as a surprise in Israel?
Good morning, Oliver. I think it was a surprise just because so much time has passed since many of these events. The army has consistently now, for going on 3 years, simply said the matter's under investigation whenever approached for question. Certainly, we here at France 24 approached many times regarding the incident of the paramedics, which we covered extensively and which also involved, I would say, the misappropriation of facts on the part of the military spokesperson's office, which didn't happen in all of these cases. For example, one of the very renowned or infamous cases, which is not being referred for criminal investigation, involves the World Central Kitchen workers. In that case, while it did undergo this central mechanism of investigation within the army. At that, in regarding that incident, the Israeli army almost immediately admitted that it was behind the killing, almost immediately admitted that it was a matter of misidentification. And so it's possible that because those initial preliminary investigations had basically brought up the result that we screwed up on the part of the army, this was not referred to a criminal investigation. The two cases that are, as we just saw, of the little girl, Hind Rajab, who was 5, and of these paramedics, where it appears, if I may say, where it appears to have been the wholesale killing of 15 unarmed health workers that was then covered up in such a way as to make it seem as if they had just disappeared into thin air. I very clearly remember the initial reports at the time, which were out of Gaza. These people have vanished for a few weeks. That was the only line we could explain. So the fact that these two very renowned cases are being referred to criminal investigation is already an admission on the part of the army that something here went deeply wrong, not only in the acts that resulted in these deaths, but also in the way the information was subsequently transferred out. So the timing, obviously, is extremely late in the game for these things, and it does show that the Israeli army was not prepared in any way for the kind of events that then subsequently took place after October 7th. Nonetheless, it's a very, very important step because this is the first, I would say, indication that the internal systems of the Israeli army can still work, that the mechanisms in place to investigate internally the doings of its own army, of its own soldiers, of its own officers, can still result in criminal referrals. And maybe that system is now coming back to life.
Now, the president of the Hind Rajab Foundation says the investigation will be a whitewash for the behaviour of Israeli troops. And on a slightly separate matter, National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir on Sunday called for 30 to 40 Gazans to be killed every day. Now, no matter what outcome from the investigation, can it be expected to have any wider impact within Israeli society?
Is that a question that it
Yes.
cannot? Um, I'm not sure. The Hind Rajab Foundation is a foundation that has taken up what are called lawfare efforts to basically make it impossible for Israelis who have served in the army to go abroad. And those efforts have been somewhat successful, I have to say. It's a foreign foundation. I don't know that it has any direct connection to the case of Hind Rajab, of the little girl herself. It's a foreign foundation, and it has basically taken upon itself to create a legal network around the world that criminalizes not just soldiers who may have been involved in the Hind Rajab or the Rajab family case, even of other well-known cases, but simply to criminalize the fact of having been an Israeli soldier who served in Gaza. What we have in the case of Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir is, in my view, a whole different ball of wax and really falls straight on the shoulders of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Itamar Ben-Gvir is the most controversial minister in the history of the state of Israel, the first minister ever appointed with a record of convictions on acts of terror, for hate crimes. Itamar Ben-Gvir is a very, very extremist figure himself with a long history of hooliganism and racial supremacy. And he did go on to a kind of podcast. This is an electoral period here in Israel. He went onto a podcast and he said he doesn't care if any Gazan was or was not a terrorist, that he believes Israel should be killing
Okay.
30 to 40 Gazans a night. Obviously, this would bring him closer to international charges of war crimes or inciting for war crimes. But what is remarkable here to me is that the government has not condemned him or distanced itself from him. And the prime minister, in particular, has not said a single word.
I'm going to have to leave it there. Noga, thank you very much for that. Noga Tarnopolsky in Jerusalem.